Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here, and today I'm in Legoland Japan with Ryan, the model shop manager, and we're going to take a look at the Legoland Japan Model Shop here and see where they create all these awesome models that you see in the park. So thanks so much for joining me, Ryan.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming to the model shop. I'm glad to show you around.
Awesome. So I see a lot of pieces everywhere, so it looks like you've got an organized collection. Maybe we can start there and talk about kind of how you organize that and how that works for when you're working on projects.
Sure, yeah. So on this wall, we have all of our plates and our jumpers in basic colors. So these are the things we're really commonly using, especially at Legoland Japan. It's where we have kind of some smaller parts in Miniland, especially that we're replacing. So that's most of the work we're doing on a daily basis is Miniland work. So this is a good place for that. We have a different wall where we're displaying all of our bricks. And over here we have bricks in basic colors. And then if we're using excessive amounts, like maybe we do a project using a lot of yellow, we have some overstock as well.
Okay.
So our basic brick is here, and then a lot of special elements on this side. So this is kind of the dream wall, I think, for most people. This is what people want. This is my favorite part right here. So I'm very glad that we can have all of these represented here. So.
Beautiful color array there. You know, it tells you exactly what you need to find. I think every AFOL wishes they had this assortment.
Well, and because the Lego part selection is constantly changing, we're often adding parts or getting extra parts. And so you see we're stocking some at the very moment. So we will rearrange this and always change the system as we need it, as parts change over time.
Great. So yeah, that looks like a great collection of parts there. What else do we have here?
Yeah, a lot more parts on this wall, but on this table, you can see a project that we're working on at the moment. This watermelon is something in August we're going to give to guests, basically, to build. So this is built all from 2x4 bricks. And watermelon is important in Japan because in the summer season, there's a certain game played called suikawari. And basically, it's almost like a piñata. So you blindfold someone and you tell them where the watermelon is and they try to hit it with a stick and break it. And they eat it after that.
Wow.
So it's
My kind of game. I like that.
Watermelon is one of my favorite foods, so I would like the game too. This is made with the 2x4 bricks. When the guests get here, they're going to build bricks like this, the same exact style. And so it's 4 times larger. So it's 8 by 16 by 4, which means we'll use this as a model, and this becomes 4 times larger. It ends up being 2.5 meters by 2.7 meters by a little over a meter wide. So it's going to be really fun to see this in giant form and a good sort of photo backdrop for us. Really fun experience during the month of August. Guests get to build this. So this is one cool thing we're doing here, and it really tests our limits as well because a 2.5 meter model on display in August, the hottest month in Japan, also at risk for typhoons. So we have to consider some other things during that time.
Like unique weather patterns there that you might not have in other parts of the world.
So we may be rebuilding it from time to time, but we're going to put some steel support in it, and it's going to be unglued, which is rare for us, because normally we're gluing all the Lego models in the park, but this is temporary. So that's one of the big projects we're working on now, coming in August, and we're focused on preparing for that. And that includes ordering the Lego brick in the quantities needed to make a giant model like that, but also working out the design to make sure this is buildable, actually.
Okay. Are these types of big projects where you get kind of the visitors involved in building them, is that common to do throughout the year, or is this kind of a rare thing that you only do every once in a while because of how many bricks it takes?
Something like this, maybe it's a little more rare because it is a pretty big item. August is a busy month for us, so we want our guests to enjoy some kind of unique experience during that time. But we just built a big mosaic, actually, a Sakura mosaic, and that was about 3 meters wide, 2 meters tall. And that was the first, we're a new theme park, right? We've only been open for about 1 year. That was the first big building event that guests got to participate in. And they had a good time building it, and really nice first anniversary logo on that, and looks really cute, and some minifigures on it. And so for the guests, especially in Japan, it's kind of a new experience. And we'll have more of that coming, but this watermelon will be the next big one. And this style really is similar. Maybe you've seen Star Wars models built this way. And I myself have built a vampire and Yoda in this style with guests' help, and they really love it. There's a really good reaction. They don't really know what it is, what it's going to look like yet, so they want to keep building, and hand you these bricks. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the projects that is happening coming soon. We're also working on some Halloween things that we can't quite show you yet. We're still working through the details, but on this side of the room I can show you a project we just wrapped up. And this was for first anniversary event. So sometimes we're making quick models. It's kind of big. We can do it pretty quickly, but these were hidden throughout Legoland. So it's another kind of special event for guests. They're hidden and they had to figure out what does it say. So if you see one, you get the character. And so what it says is arigato, which is thank you. And so that's a thank you to our guests for a first time coming. So, or first year, successful year. And thanks for coming to Legoland. And so here's 2 of those from that.
So almost like little Easter eggs, you try to do things like that just to enhance the experience a little bit.
Exactly. We have, at the moment, we have some little frogs that are hidden in Miniland. That's to celebrate rainy season. It's called a rain frog, and it's common in Japan at this time. So it's another kind of little Japanese thing that makes Legoland a little bit interesting and for the guests coming during rainy season in June.
Mm-hmm. So. And something that I think is great now, you mentioned a few of these things that are very much like Japanese culture related. So I think that's really neat because it's not like you're just taking, the Legoland model from the US or someplace like that and just cutting and pasting it and putting it over here. There are a lot of things that are definitely oriented towards, the location of the park.
Yeah, exactly. Japan especially is a unique culture, a unique country, and there's very many Japanese ideas. And actually, they're very good in Lego. So not only are we doing events like that, very themed and localized, but we're doing things in Miniland. They're very Japan-centric. Of course, our Miniland represents the Japanese bigger cities and some of the big cultural and architectural marvels sort of Japan. But we take it a little further. This Miniland has a little bit of fantasy. So it has some mascots that rise up above a castle or above a building, and then some funnier scenes. So we took this Miniland in a little bit different direction than maybe some of the older Minilands, and it's not quite so realistic, so a little more fantasy. And that is really relevant in Japan, where you see constant access to manga and anime that's really specific to this country. So brighter colors, fun stories, kind of ridiculous characters, and you'll see a lot of that in Miniland. Related to this watermelon, if you want to get an idea of what the size of this is, you saw the small watermelon, and this is exactly what that small watermelon looks like. And just to get some idea of the large watermelon, this is 2.5 meters tall, so quite massive. And I created this file to understand how many Lego bricks I needed to order for this project. But this is software that we're using in the model shop. Helps us design 3D sculptures a little bit easier. We're also using software that you can use at home as well, the Lego Digital Designer, and it's basically the same thing that you can use there. We use that for some of the smaller Miniland models, but we're not using that so much for sculptural. It just takes too long. But for these types of projects, we'll often start planning months in advance, and if we can have half a year, that's really good. Sometimes they come at the last minute, and so we're working pretty frantically. There's 6 of us in this model shop, and we have different backgrounds. We have an engineer, we have a couple of artists, we have sort of an AFOL who is an artist, and he's the one ordering all the Lego bricks here. He's the one who can handle that in his head. There's thousands to order, and this is a new model shop, so we had to start from nothing. And I'm so glad he was able to order all these parts and have that catalog in his head, because it's a little overwhelming to think about. But we also have a musician, so he's got a good creative brain, and then someone who's a 3D designer, and he's actually very good with this software and other 3D design software as well. I've been doing this in some form or another for about 8 years in Legoland, California, and another studio in California. And so I've done a lot of this type of work, but it's good to have a team that's well-rounded that can be depended on for different things. So in a model shop, we're often looking for different skills, and not just about super Lego fans necessarily. It might be someone who's really good with software or really good with organization. And so it's really important to create a solid team, and important for nice teamwork and fast action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like there's diversity of skills, so everybody kind of has their own approach and everything, and working together they can create a better product.
Yeah, exactly. I can show you over here a little bit, sort of a Japan idea, and this to me was new the first time I visited Japan. I've been in Japan 1.5 years, And when I came to Japan for a research trip, I was in Osaka. And in Osaka, I saw these trucks. It's kind of maybe advertising for especially boy bands in Japan, so J-pop. Okay. And you see many of these trucks driving around with some big speakers. And so this was sort of a Lego version of that. Super cute, kind of a take on the Rockstar and this band. But so I wanted to have a truck driving in Miniland that looked like that. And so we have a couple of versions of this. Once you're in, you see this very frequently, and sometimes it's very loud, and but culturally kind of different than what you might see in some other countries. You don't really see this in other places. This is something kind of interesting, a little bit non-Lego. As I mentioned, other skills are important other than Lego building, and we need a staff that can look at this and figure out if there's a problem. It's basically a really tough remote control car. And so there's a really strong motor on here. There will be a battery that comes on it when we put it in Miniland. And these wheels here, they're actually turned by a servo. And this is the sensor, and it senses sort of a radio frequency coming from a wire under the pavement. So a lot of guests come here and say, how does this crazy car work? It's just driving. It looks autonomous, but it's actually following that wire. And so it stops to charge maybe every minute, and then will proceed on its way. And it's very strong. This is going to last for many, many years out in Miniland. In Japan, we have an interesting climate. As you can tell, it's kind of hot today. It's kind of warm, and it's going to become warmer. So summer is very hot, and it's very rainy. So these models and these motors, they need to withstand a lot of water, a lot of tough conditions. But wintertime, there's ice and snow. So it's not unlike maybe winter in North Carolina or something like that, in a colder part of North Carolina. So sometimes it gets cold, sometimes it's rainy. So all of this needs to last throughout all of those environments. So that's a challenge for our team to keep that all functioning well and working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very impressive. Like you said, it's more than just Lego skills. You've got all this other stuff that goes into it as well. And, it kind of shows how the magic happens with the driving cars and everything.
Yeah, so in the future, we have plans for Halloween in Japan. And Halloween is becoming more and more popular in Japan. But it's kind of a new holiday here, so that's something interesting for us. So in some of our other Legoland parks, we have really big Halloween events, and this year we have a Halloween event planned as well. But it's a little interesting. Another thing is Christmas. Often Legolands are doing interesting things for Christmas. A giant Christmas tree, for example. We have a 9-meter Christmas tree, and this country is not celebrating Christmas quite in the same way. Christmas isn't really the time when you go visit your family. This Christmas here is more like Valentine's Day. So it's very interesting for us. So we adapt to that and make some changes and think about those things. But what's really fun for me, not being Japanese, I get to come here and celebrate some Japanese holidays that I never heard of or never experienced before. But sometimes we're decorating the park and adding some different items. Last year we had a big sign that says wish, and that's to celebrate Tanabata. In Tanabata, you take a little piece of paper and write a wish on it and hang it from a bamboo tree, and kind of a tree that is sort of artificial. You see these in a lot of places throughout Japan during that time. Well, we took little Lego bricks and we had guests write their wishes on it. We made a big wish sign for that. Oh, yeah. So those are fun ways where we can celebrate this sort of Japanese holiday, but also tie it into Lego and do something really fun with Lego for us.
Kind of adapt it for stuff related to the Lego park and Lego in general.
Exactly. Yeah. Over here I want to show you something that's a little bit unique as well. We have these large minifigures, and this is one of my favorite ones, really cute bee girl.
Yeah.
In Japan, an important thing is cute. There's so many cute things that you see here. If you think about some of the characters that you see and mascots and things. So we have a lot of these throughout Legoland Japan, and they're great. I love them, and guests really love them too. So this is another aspect of our work here. This is not Lego, but it has to be true to Lego. It has to look like Lego, and we're representing it just like the Lego version. So we want to maintain and keep this in a condition that makes it seem like it could be Lego, like a keychain or like an actual figure or something. So we're often looking at these. We have a couple hundred in the park. And then they're mixed in also with Lego versions. And so in Japan, what's a little bit different about this Legoland is there's a mixing of scales and mixing of materials, just like in a kid's toy box. So the idea is that the kids aren't necessarily keeping things organized and separate. Maybe you have Duplo mixed in with regular Lego. Maybe you have different themes kind of coming together. But in addition, these minifigures are mixing with Lego versions of the minifigures as well.
I really like that. Yeah, how you said that. It's kind of like a kid's toy box at home, isn't it? So it's almost like a giant version of that as you walk around the park.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's relatable as well. A lot of the kids that they're coming here, maybe they're building some Lego models using multiple different colors and kind of getting creative with their designs. Maybe as an adult, you think, oh, I'm making a red car and it's only red. But the kids don't really think that way. And so that's one of the aspects of Legoland that we want to capture is those ideas.
Does this shop ever design any models for other parks or other kind of Lego related events or things like that in Asia, or is it pretty much just for the Legoland park?
This one is just for Legoland, so we have enough work that we could work all day just building Lego models for this park at the moment. But we're new. We've been open as Legoland in Japan for about 1 year, a little over 1 year now, and it's constantly evolving. Projects are constantly changing, and 1 year sounds like a lot of time, but it's actually very fast.
And for people who might be interested in doing a job like this, obviously there's a lot of Lego fans out there, and they think, wow, it'd be really fun to design models for Legoland parks somewhere in the world. What maybe advice would you have for them, going forward if that's something they wanted to pursue?
Yeah, for me, I had a unique path, like most people do. I didn't know this was a job when I was even going to college. I didn't realize this was something I could do. Of course, I did it as a hobby pretty intensely, but I found out when I was 21 that it was a job, and I started pursuing, kind of looking for job postings. Are they looking for a Lego designer? And my friend told me, oh, yeah, you can be a Lego designer, but you have to move to Denmark, and it's really difficult, and take all these tests. And he was partially right. You can move to Japan and also do the job, or move to California. But in my case, my background is in urban planning, and specifically I focused on residential design, so kind of architecture. And I learned some skills, especially software use and thinking about cities and thinking about the layout of a city, and that helps me in my job now. But my advice is basically choose a design field, study that, go to college, whether it's graphic design, architecture, art, just about anything creative. It's going to help you to pursue this Lego job. And then once you're doing that, keep focusing on your Lego building. So, go on Flickr or go on some other place where you're showing your creations, talk with other builders, try to attend some Lego conventions and try to understand what are other people doing and what could I do to improve my skills, and keep working at that. But really, the experience is very vast of any model builder. As I mentioned, we have engineers and art students. I've worked with architects before. I've worked with political scientists, you name it. It's just about being a fan of Lego and understanding Lego and being able to make something in Lego.
Well, excellent advice there. So thank you so much for showing us around the model shop. I really appreciate it. It's a great look kind of behind the scenes here at how Legoland operates. So thank you very much.